Kakadosh, Boker or Masechet Nedarim Daf Zayin Amud Aleph 37a1. Okay, says the Gemara 37a1. So the Gemara says in Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph 37a1, it says Hakamash Milan. This comes to teach you Dafilu b'makom shenotlim sachar, that even in a place where they take sachar for teaching mikra. Al mikra shari mishkal. You're allowed to take for mikra, but al midrash lo shari mishkal. Now we're going to ask why. Maishna midrash telo. What is the reasoning why you cannot take money for teaching midrash? Tichtiv, it says in a pasuk, ve'oti tziva Hashem ba'etai, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded me at the time of Har Sinai, lelamed etchem chukim mishpatim, to teach you chukim mishpatim. Uchtiv, and it says, re'elimati etchem chukim mishpatim kasher tzivani Hashem lokai. This is all in the Devarim there, where it says, you see that what? That I'm supposed to teach you the entire Torah. So the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu came and he said that again, I was commanded to teach Yisrael, it's mashma that he wanted to be madgish, that you have to teach in the same way. Ma'ani bechinam, just like Moshe Rabbeinu taught for free, af atem nami bechinam. So too, you need that it should be bechinam, without tashlum. Right? Exactly. Bechinam. So what's the kavanah then? So therefore, we learn from here that it's a sur for the melamed to take sachar limud on midrash. Mikra nami bechinam. So 1 second. So if so, mikra should also be bechinam. So Rav Amar Rav says schar shimur. We're talking about that you're taking schar from the fact that they're not going one place to another place, right? Like you're a babysitter, right? That means basically what's happening is that the reason why you're taking is because you're taking reward in order that you go. Imagine right now, right? If I right now was not teaching right Torah, what's going to happen? There will be guys going out, right, being perchachim, killing people, doing all these other, terrible things. So you're watching over, making sure that they're not doing. So we're babysitters. That's what it is. It's babysitting. That's the service. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, there's another reason also. Schar pisuk ta'amim. You're teaching music. When you teach the Torah, you're teaching ta'amim mikra also. No, ta'amim. For ta'amim, that you could take the reward for the ta'amim mikra, for ta'amim. Okay? So the Torah is actually coming and saying that a person is saying chukim mishpatim, but pisuk ta'amim is not from that's only the Rabbanan. So therefore, because of that, chukim mishpatim, you're allowed to come and you're allowed to take reward for the ta'amim. Okay, but it's mamash, it's like music. And we learned in the Mishnah, lo yelamdenu mikra, right? A modera na'a mechavero is not going to come and teach mikra bechinam. So bishlema lemandamar, it's good according to the mandamar, schar pisuk ta'amim, hainu de lo yelamdenu. If you're going to tell me that this entire concept is that you're not going to come and you're going to have schar pisuk ta'amim, so then we understand that the lo yelamdenu. Why? Because at the end of the day, he's supposed to get reward for it. Ela lemandamar schar shimur. Gadol bar shimru. I understand a child, you have to take care of him. You're a babysitter. What about a gadol? I would say the opposite. I would say that sometimes gadolim need more babysitting than chitanim, but it doesn't matter. But here, the Gemara is asking. Yeah, the Gemara is asking. Yeah, the Gemara is asking. Yeah, so answers the Gemara. Bekatan katani. It's true. We're talking about katan. Yeah, anachnu medabrim al katan. Now the Gemara is going to ask, if you're going to tell me now that we're talking about a katan, ema seifa. Let's see the seifa. Aval melamedet banav mikra, right? But he's going to teach his children mikra. Katan barbanim. 1 second. What do we say? You cannot teach the guy Torah because obviously you would have received the word, but you could teach his son, right? You're allowed to teach his son Torah. Now, 1 second. If you just told me right now that we're talking about a katan, right? Because you just have to tell me it's a katan, because if not, a gadol is lav bar shimurhu. You don't have to be a babysitter over a gadol. So means you're talking about a katan. So now, how does a katan? 1 second. But how does a katan have a child? We're talking about a katan. One more time. What do we say in the Mishnah? The Mishnah says, I come and I make a neder. I don't want you to benefit from it. Can I teach you chumash? So the truth is, to teach you chumash technically should be mutar. I'm supposed to do bechinam, but I'm allowed to take reward. What's the reward for? If you tell me it's schar tamim, so then it makes sense. But if you're going to tell me it's going to be because of babysitting, he's a gadol. If he's a gadol, he doesn't need a babysitter. So therefore, why would it be a sur for me to teach him? It should be mutar. Anyway, there's no babysitting services. So the Gemara answers, no, he's a katan. So since he's a katan, I'm not allowed to teach him chumash because I'm supposed to charge. And I'm supposed to get money for the babysitting service. I'm not allowed to teach a katan because then I'm supposed to take money. And the fact that he's not paying me, that's a benefit. That's a benefit. So says the Gemara, yeah, he benefits. And I made an end, he's not allowed to benefit.
Only if he's katan.
Only if he's a katan.
What age
because
is katan?
What?
What age?
Under bar mitzvah. Yeah, under bar mitzvah. It's a katan. So now says the Gemara, 1 second. But the Mishnah said, I'm allowed to teach his children Torah. If we're coming now and putting the anacha that he's a katan, and that's why I'm not allowed to teach him, so then how do I teach his children? He's a katan. He's a katana's children. Okay. What's going on? You understand? That's what the Gemara is asking. So the Gemara says, you're right. We're lacking part of the Mishnah. We're lacking part of the Mishnah, and this is the way that you're supposed to have it. Lo yilamdenu mikra bekatan. Right? When we're talking about that you shouldn't teach chumash, we're talking about a katan. But imaya gadol melamdo lo ulvan mikra. But if he's a gadol, I could teach him and his children. Meaning the Gemara only brought down, the Mishnah only brought down, you could teach his children. No, you could even teach him. Because since you could do it for free, right? Why could you do it for free? Because there's no schar shmira. No, he's a gadol. The gadol, there's no schar shmira. Since there's no schar shmira, meaning there's no babysitting service on a gadol. So since there's no babysitting service on a gadol, that's why it's going to be mutar. Okay? You're right. So we're going to ask the following question. Tinokot, right? We're talking about tinokot shel bet rabban. Lo korim b'tchila b'Shabbat. We don't teach them at the beginning, psukim, the first time on Shabbat, right? Why? We're going to explain in a minute. Ela shonim berishon. But rather we teach them on, let's say, for example, the first time around. Okay? So they could do like a chazara. So says the Gemara, 1 second. What's going on here? That it means basically the first time around, you cannot teach them on Shabbat. You could only do like a chazara on Shabbat. What's going on? I understand if you're going to tell me it's because of the schar of the ta'amim, it makes sense. Why? They're going to start on Shabbat, so now he has to pay me. So imagine I come and take his son on Shabbat, and I start teaching him ta'amim. All of a sudden I'm going to come and tell him, pay up. So it makes sense.
First time.
Yeah, the first time. So it makes sense that what? I can't start on Shabbat. It makes sense. But he says, Elmaleh, but if it's going to be because of babysitting services, why is it that you can't do the first time on Shabbat, but you could do like the first chazara? You also have babysitting on Shabbat. Meaning, what's the difference now? If you're going to tell me it's pisuk ta'amim, it makes sense. But if you're going to tell me babysitting is babysitting. It's the exact same thing. What's the difference between babysitting on Shabbat or babysitting on Sunday? It's the exact same thing. So says the Gemara, this is what? Is it going to be asur to take schar Shabbat? Havlahi, it's called havlah. Havlah. Havlah mishashari. Havlah is going to be permitted, right? The Tanya was we learned in the Braita. Socheret poel lishmonet tino. If you're going to take a babysitter, or lishmonet para, or to watch over a para, lishmonet zraim, to watch over the zraim, and not to schar Shabbat, they don't give him schar Shabbat. Lefichach, and therefore, lamed zayin umubet. Im avdu eno chayav achriutan. If it gets lost, you're not chayav achriutan. But if he was Shabbat, you do give him the schar Shabbat. So you see from here, basically, what are we trying to say? We're trying to come and we're trying to say, first of all, there's something which is called havlah. Havlah means is that you're not taking just for Shabbat. You're taking it as a package deal. You know, there's packages, right? Many times it's worth it. For example, you go to Lakewood, you do a wedding. What do? You do a package. Why? Instead of paying flowers, you're paying, I don't know how many thousands. And caterer, you're paying hundreds of thousands, right? And the other ones, you're paying many thousands, right? So what happens? You come, you say package deal. What's package deal? You come and you put everything together. It's a much cheaper deal. Right. Why? Because it's a package, right? Packages are always, it's always much cheaper. Yeah. So what happens? So what happens? So therefore, he comes and he says here the same thing. Havla'ah is a package. When you do a havla'ah, it's not a suit because havla'ah you're not taking for Shabbat. You're taking for my job. You worked on Shabbat, but I'm getting this job. So it's a package deal.
But anyway.
Okay, one second. So now, here though, what are we trying to say? The chiyuv, right, on something getting lost or something, so it all depends on what exactly is happening. The Braita says you're allowed to take schar Shabbat be'avla'ah with the schar of the other days. So therefore, since the limud with the yeladim is b'derech klal schirut of shavua or a chodesh or shana, meaning you don't pay per day, you pay for the month, or you pay for or whatever it is. So it comes out that there's no yisud of taking schar Shabbat, and then it's going to be a question, Rabbi Yochanan. So therefore, why did the Braita say that you're not allowed to take schar pisuk tamim for Shabbat? You understand? That's what the Gemara is. Ela legabe Shabbat. So what's the reasoning on Shabbat that we said that you're not going to start bechinam? In order that they should be mishtamea imahem kemitzvot Shabbat, which means that if they're going to learn something new, so then the fathers will not want to be mevatel otam limudam, and then they can't play with them. They can't be with them on Shabbat. Meaning, you see from here that there's an inyan on Shabbat to be with your children. But if you're only going to do chazara, so then okay, so then big deal. If they didn't do the chazara, so it's no problem. So then they could still come and they could be with their children.
You mean to teach them? Or?
To teach them, to be with them, to play with them, to be with them. That's what it says. Lashon Pnai. It says here, אם ילמדו הילדים דבר חדש שיש בו טורח ולוקח זמן מרובה, ויחכו אבות זמן רב עד שיבואו ילדים לסעוד עמהם, יתפתנו מעונג שבת. ולכן לומדים עמהם רק מה שכבר קראו מאתמול, שאינו לוקח זמן רב, ואז יש פנאי לסעודת שבת. פה זה משמע לסעודה. Right? The importance of סעודת שבת. Some people, they have a minhag, סעודת שבת, each one is in their own place. This one will go to a kiddush in this Bet Knesset, the other one will be in a lunch in this person's house, the other one in a, I don't know where. Seudat Shabbat is a Seudat Shabbat together. Yachad. So what happens? Even for Talmud Torah, right now they have a teacher, right? They have a teacher. If they're going to learn something new, it's going to take them a long time, and then they're not going to be Seudat Shabbat with us, right? So what happens? So you could only teach them something which they already learned, because once they already learned it, it doesn't take such a long time. It doesn't take such a long time. So and they come back quickly, and they come to have Seudat Shabbat with us. So here you see it's on the Seudah, the importance of Seudat Shabbat together with the family. Sometimes you see that. Sometimes you see that, this one, he went to the Kiddush over there, he already ate the Kiddush. The other one, they come home, no, we already ate, everyone already ate. But what's Seudat Shabbat? Seudat Shabbat is supposed to be together. Forget about whether it's with the bread and the this and all the other halachot. There's another 100 halachot. But here it's talking about Oneg Shabbat with your children, Oneg Shabbat with your family. Capish? Very good. If you want, you can answer. Another answer. Mishum de Shabbatah. Achlin v'shatin v'yakila lehon alma. He says b'Shabbat the children, they eat and they drink more than they eat and drink during the week. And therefore, what happens is that it's going to be kaved. So therefore, since they're kaved, they're chalash. They can't learn properly. Meaning on Shabbat, it has to be a little bit of a lighter learning, because it's going to be mamash kacha, that. It's difficult. So therefore, since they eat and drink a lot, it brings kvedut. Why are people tired on Shabbat afternoon? Because they ate on Shabbat morning, right? It's not only just because of the alafina, right? The fact that they eat a lot more on Shabbat morning than any other day of the week, it makes you tired. So therefore, that's why people have time. Yeah, you're listening. The Amar Shmuel, just like Shmuel says, Shinui Veset, Tchilat Cholem Yain. When you're going to change your Veset, right? What's a Veset? Shinui Veset means if you change your normal cycle, if you change your normal way, because the Veset is a period, by the way, right? Of a woman also, it's called Veset. So Shinui Veset, you change your normal cycle. Every single day you eat a certain amount. Come Shabbat Kodesh and you come and you press away. You know what the press is? You come and you eat. Right? You eat good. So what happens? It's the beginning of Tchilat Cholem Yain. The system changes. Right? Why? So the same thing. So on Shabbat, it's very difficult to come and teach children something new, because it's too difficult for them. Now, according to the Gemara Ulman according to the Mandamar that says, right, Schar Pisuk Tamim, Mai Ta'ama Lo Amar Schar Shimun. So why is it that he says, right, why doesn't he say Schar Shimun, which means this? We came and we said there's two reasons for this. There's one reason which was Schar Ta'amim, right, because Ta'amim is a music, it's a Chokhmah, right, it's not just Torah, it's number one. Number two, also, besides Schar Tamim, Schar Shmira, babysitting service, right? So therefore, the question is, why don't they say the same thing? Why is it that the Schar Pisuk Tamim does not say like the Schar Shmira? Yes, you're 100% correct. I agree with you. So Kasavari says, Banot Nika Bayan Shimur, right? He comes into the bed. Banot, right? Do they need Shimur? Which means like this. He says usually the girls, they stay at home, right? They stay at home. They don't go out. So therefore, Kol Kuda B'Melech Penima. right? The girls, they stay at home, so they don't need now babysitting service. So if we're talking about then, now here we're usually talking about whether it's males or females. So therefore he comes and he says, right, when you tell me it's schar shimur, that's only for boys, it's not for girls. And usually we try to mean that it should be for everybody. Okay? But the ta'amim could be for everybody. So according to Mandamar that says because babysitting service, why doesn't he say schar pisuk ta'amim? Kasavar pisuk ta'amim doraita. He wants to say no, that the ta'amim is doraita, which means the ta'amim were given in Hechal Moshe Sinai. So since the ta'amim were given in Hechal Moshe Sinai, and therefore it's part of the chukim mishpatim, so that's why you can't get money for it. We thought at the beginning that whatever came from the Torah, you cannot take money for. But if it comes from the Rabbanan, you could take money for it. He's saying, no, it's Doraita. And if it's Doraita, you cannot take money for it. Because it's just like the Torah. Meaning the Ta'amim is just like the Torah. The Amar of Ika, Bar Avin, Amar of Hananel, Amar Rav. It says Rav Ika, Bar Avin, Amar of Hananel, Rav. My dikti, what does it mean in the Pasuk? There's a Pasuk in Nehemiah. The Pasuk says, Vayikru Besefer Torah Elokim Meforash. V'shum Sechel, Vayavinu Mikra. We also saw this in Masechet Megillah. Right? It says that you're going to read in the Torah Elokim Meforash, V'som Sechel, right? He says, Vayavinu Mikra. Vayikreu Besefer Torah Elokim Ze Mikra. This is the Torah, meaning all the Torah, right? Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, and Devarim, right? All the Torah is considered what? Torah Elokim. So Torah Elokim Mikra. Next, Meforash. What is Meforash? Targum. Because the Targum is Mefaresh. The Targum explains, right, the Torah. That's the Targum, the translation. Exactly.
Confuses me more.
The Som Sechel, right? What is Som Sechel? Elu Psukim. This is the way that they actually come. Yeah, it says here the Som Sechel. Yeah, he comes and he says it's the dividing of the Torah in the, how do you put it? Like to place a Sechel, right? So he comes and he says Chalukata Mikra LePsukim. That's called Som Sechel because it's like maskilim. So he comes and he says that's how you understand. You understand it to understand it better. Vayavinu b'mikra. How do you understand the mikra? It's a pisuk tamim. The neginot, the manginot. Why? Because the mangina shows you the order of the pasuk, which word goes with what. You understand? For example, when you want to say 5,200, right? How do you say 5,200? 5,000, right? Umatayim. Okay? What happens if you're going to say much bigger numbers? So you're going to say 75,260. So you say 75,000, right? U260. Right? That's what you say. 75,000 U260. What happens if I do, right? 72, comma, 1,260. What did I just say? I said 72, comma, then I said 1,260. So instead of doing the 72,000, I just did 72, 1,000, right? 260. Right? No, but that's what I'm saying. But you only have because you already have the ta'amim, which means you already know where the ta'amim go. And you don't know how many times in the Tikkun Shmatziyach it tells you, put a pasek here. Because if you don't put a pasek over here, you just change the entire meaning. We have it in Rosh Chodesh. Shiva, Temimim. Right? If you look in the Rosh Chodesh, the second pasuk, right there, Shiva, comma, Temimim. If you don't, you change the entire explanation. And there's throughout the entire Torah. Right? You have that.
Stop,
and then Temimim. Because it's where you're going back or you're going forward. Right? You're talking about Shiva Temimim, or you're talking about going forward. Okay? So therefore, the pisuk ta'amim is vayavinu b'mikra. So according to this explanation, vayavinu b'mikra is doraita. That means the ta'amim is doraita. Ve'amnila, or some people say it's a masoret, which means the masoret of the words, which words have bigger letters, smaller letters, chaser, yater. You know, like for example, last week I went and I read V'tzudel Litzayid, right? And it had a hey, an extra hey. So I said V'tzudel Litzayid, and many times I stopped to breathe because I'm reading very quick. And somebody all of a sudden tried to correct me, like Tzedar, or I don't know what it was exactly. It was a mistake, right? Because it was really Tzudel Litzayid, it had an extra hey, but you skip it out, you understand? But what happens is that a person, what's happening? You know, so he comes.
No, Vegas.
Okay, fine. So basically, what happens is that a person realizes that this is a masoret that we have of when we have extra, when do we have not extra. Okay. So Amar of Yitzchak says of Yitzchak, Mikra Sofrim. Yeah, the kriyam duyeket of a milah, we received it from Sofrim. The tur Sofrim. Yeah, what does that mean here? The Sofrim are the Anshe Knesset Gdolah. That means basically the way that we have all the words and everything, that comes from Masechet Nedarim Daf. Itur, the words, certain words come out with like, le'ateru ulfaerotam, is sofrim. Now, there's certain words that they're also read and not written. And then there's other words which are written and not read. That's Hechal Moshe Sinai. For example, there are two of them in Parashat Kitavo. There are two of them, Batechorim and Yishgalena. Right? We say Batechorim instead of Vapelim, and then Yishkavena instead of Yishgalena. Right? But again, that's called the Kli Uktiv, meaning that Mamash, that you're reading the Torah. Right? No.
What about written but
one
not
is
read? In the Torah?
Written but not read. I just told you, Tzaida. In last week's parasha,
so
it's
they're
written.
read, but they're read differently.
They're read differently. It's not read. It's read differently. Or Na'ara. Na'ara is written without the hay. No, not always. There's a few.
We don't pass on the word.
Yeah, no.
When it says they're not written, they're not read.
No, but sometimes it's a completely different word. Yishkalena, Yishkavena is a completely different word. It's the same type of a language, but it's a different word. But they changed it. We have Hechal Moshe Sinai. Okay, now Mikra Sofrim, the Eretz, the Aretz. Sometimes we come and we say Eretz or Aretz. For example, last night you brought up a pasuk. I don't remember which one it was. Al tilgezu badarech. It doesn't say baderech. It's sof pasuk. So al tilgezu badarech. That it comes from the Mikra Sofrim. Why? Because they were the ones that teach you how it's supposed to be. Well, you're looking them up to make sure it's correct. Yeah. So he says, right? Or for example, Shamayim and Mitzrayim. Or Shamim and Shamim, or Mitzrim, right? Mitzrayim, all those things. Okay? Another one is Itur Sofrim. What is Itur Sofrim? Achar Ta'avoru. V'sa'adu li bechem v'achar Ta'avoru. That's by Abraham Avinu. Teshev na'ara itanu yemim osor, achar telech. Or achar te'asef el amecha. Right? Or Kidemu sharim achar nogenim. Okay? Now in all these cases, right, you could have said V'sa'adu li bechem v'ta'avoru. Teshev na'ara itanu v'telech. Tisagel shivatavim. So what is achar? The word achar, which is like a tosefet, which is extra, is like it's like an ateret. It's beautifying the language. It's like teshev itanu v'telech. No, teshev itanu v'achar telech. Afterwards go. It's making it nicer. It's beautifying it. So that's called the atar. This is Tehillim. This we say on Mincha of Shabbat. Why do we say 3 Tzidkatechad on Mincha of Shabbat?
Moshe, Yosef, ודוד.
Moshe, Yosef, and David. Those were the three people that passed away during Mincha of Shabbat.
What are they again?
Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Yosef and David. Okay? So he says over here, Tzidkatecha ke'arede'el. You could have said Tzidkatecha harede'el. What is ke harede'el? Right? So that's also the same thing. That's tiferet halashon. Okay? Next, Karyam velo ketivan. What does it mean that it's read but it's not written? So it says where we say, right? For example, the milah perat of belechto in the pasuk of belechto lashiv yado benahar perat, and then it says or ish. The kasher yishal ish bidvar Elohim, kasher yishal ish bidvar Elohim, ba'im denivneta, right, where it says over there in Yirmiyahu, hinei yamim ba'im nu Hashem nivneta yireh Hashem, lah of peleta, et diugad ugad lanu, or elai avagoren. So in all these cases, right, they're not actually written, but we say it. So it means it's read, but it's not actually written, okay? Or elai avaseorim, right? Halen karyan velaktivan. Now, all these words, they're read, even though they're not written in the book. Now, it's true, none of them were actually in the Torah. They're all in the Nevi'im Ketuvim, right? But they're all those ones, okay? Those are the different examples. The majority of them were all in Shemuel and in Ruth and others as well, okay? Uktivan velakaryan. Now, what's written and not read? So he says, na of Yislach, meaning in Melachim, it says, Vishtachaviyeta bet rimon Yislach, na Hashem lavdecha. And there, the word na is written, but you skip it out. You actually don't read it. Or Lamitchet Amud Aleph on the top, zot of the mitzvah. So this is in Devarim. There it says v'zot hamitzvah chukim hamishpatim. So, okay, this is Parashat Vayetchanan. So it says you actually have it there. But in one of the Dfusim, they actually had vizot instead of zot. Okay, basically there was like a different masoret. Okay, so he says, or yidroch avadorech, right? Or chamesh of pat negev paim bama. Okay, ve'ele midot midotea im of kigoel halem kitiva velo kriyah. So in all these cases, they're written, but you don't actually read it. And we continue Bezrat Hashem tomorrow.
הרב, מתי אפשר לסגור את